good work into or with seated positions. So always take care. Seated positions can be quite hard on the lower back, but also good for our spines because it makes us work. So the main thing is that you work in a way that feels quite comfortable for you, and you can use blocks and blankets or whatever allows you to feel comfortable on the floor. So if we get going, so if you turn and just come down onto your mat, just as we usually start, but this time let's just bring our knees in towards us. So lightly place your hands on your knees and just resisting any urge to pull or to force the knees down. Just allow the knees to rest, and you can cross the ankles, and whatever ankle you've crossed on top, just change across the other ankles. Always kind of know we have a habit and we have a pattern, and we will always kind of go towards what feels safe, I suppose, or comfortable. So just changing small things just allows us to start that journey towards coming outside of our comfort zone. So just cross the ankles again and then again. So just working into the ankles, and then where your hands resting on your knees, just feeling the knees start to mobilise a little bit as well. Make sure you're breathing, and you might even feel something start to respond deep inside your abdomen or belly muscles, and then just stop, whatever way the knees are crossed, or so ankles are crossed on top, and then just rock from side to side, just easing into the back of the body, muscles either side of the spine, and you're feeling that movement as well in the back of your head, feeling how that responds, so you're massaging the back of your head as well, and then just come to centre, and then just uncross the ankles, and just rock the heels from side to side. So feel that response through the knees, feel that response through your hips. So just learning or training ourselves to settle down, to just focus in on what's happening in our bodies. You can go a little bit slower, just rocking the heels from side to side, feeling what's happening deep inside, through the hips, through the ankles, through the knees, through the waist, centre of the spine. Can you feel a twist taking place there? And then stop. Just let the weight of the knees rest down, draw your chin slightly down. So don't forget the back of your head and the sense of long spine. And now take your attention to your knees, and you're just going to rock the knees from side to side. So as you rock the knees from side to side, you're going to feel your hips and the lower back start to move or to respond. You might feel the shoulders start to respond, and you can maybe make it a little bit deeper. So as you rock over, say towards the right, the left shoulder and the left hip comes off. As you rock over towards the left, the right hip, right shoulder come off. So you're just rocking the spine easily, carefully, from side to side, but you're initiating the movement from your knees. So just waking ourselves up, and then just come to centre. And now, if it's okay, just place your hands just on the base of the ribs, or kind of around there where the centre of the spine would be, and take your attention to your hips. And we're just going to see, can you just lift up or roll over onto the left side, left hip, so that will lift up the right hip. Then rock back, lift up the left hip to roll over onto the right side. And you might, first of all, you might be leaving your shoulders behind, and that's all right. Let the shoulders stay rested on the floor. Can they stay rested on the floor? As you just slow it down and feel one hip lift, maybe the left hip lifts, but the left shoulder stays down. And then come back. So we're just kind of fragmenting the body a little bit, isolating the joints in order to ultimately, we're going to bring everything together. Just rocking, maybe lifting up the left hip, left shoulder stays down, come back to centre, feel the hip rest, right hip lifts, right shoulder stays down. When it comes back, feel the hip rest, and then maybe start to work with the rest of the body. So as the left hip lifts, the left shoulder can lift, and you can roll over onto your right side, and then you ease back. So you're rocking from side to side like we've been doing all along, but you're just initiating that movement from a different place, and knowing that you can. And just working with that, finding your rhythm, finding your pace, and then just coming to centre. And now we're going to take the attention to the shoulders. So we're going to lift up the right shoulder and let it drop. Lift up the left shoulder and let it drop. And then just carry on, one at a time, and then seeing if eventually we can start to integrate the whole of your body. So when we lift up the right shoulder, can you lift up the right hip and roll over onto your left side? And then draw the right shoulder back and you come back onto your back. Lift up the left shoulder, lift up the left hip and you roll over onto your right side. And then just see if you can carry on. So we're just trying to find a fluidity in our movement, but we're initiating the movement from the shoulder this time. From the outside it might look the same, the movement might look the same, but you know your attention has been taken or drawn to a different part of your body. So we're using different muscles, and that's really vital for that whole sense of being comfortable in ourselves. So our attention is usually drawn to a part of us that's uncomfortable. So when we start to mobilise all different parts of us in isolation at first, we ultimately just start to find out how we are, and then just roll to centre. And now taking your attention to where your hands are resting on the centre of the ribs or the belly, or wherever they are, base of the ribs, we're just going to take all your attention there and just imagine underneath that part there, you can start to rock from side to side. And can you eventually start to integrate that through the rest of the body? So as you rock from side to side from underneath your hand, you might find the knees start to move. From underneath your hands, you might feel the shoulders start to move. Just trying to wake up the muscles deep inside the centre of the spine. So you rock over to the right, the left hip, left shoulder come off, and then you just roll back down as you rock over towards the left. Right shoulder, right hip come off. So you're just kind of working with all your attention on the centre of your spine. And just seeing how that feels. You might not get any movement, you might just be resting with an awareness or imagining an awareness or imagining a movement deep inside underneath your hands. Or you might be able to feel something just start to take place, something starting to work or mobilise. Make sure you're breathing and then just roll to centre. And just be aware that when you come back to centre, the back of your shoulders rest down, the back of your hips rest down. Underneath your hands, you can feel your breath. And then we're going to just carefully bring your feet onto the floor. Soles of the feet rest down. And you can feel the contact through the soles of your feet. You can feel the contact through parts of your body that are resting on the floor, so through the spine, through the back of the head. And where your hands are resting on the centre of your body, you can feel your breath. And sometimes it is that utter relief just to be able to do nothing but be with your breath. And that was rocking from side to side. So now we're just going to see if we can bring ourselves to sit up. So if you bring your arm, we work with it quite slowly. If you bring your arms down by your side, palms facing down. Roll your head from side to side. Make sure your jaw is quite soft. And then we're just going to draw the chin down to lift the head. Push down into the elbows to just sit yourself up. Just sit yourself up. Just shift to this way. And then we're going to hands resting down by the floor. We're going to bring the elbows down, round spine. Head. Your head is the last part for you to come down. And your feet can move. You can move the feet around. You can draw the chin in, lift the head, push down into the elbows to round yourself up. So any way that you can, you round yourself up. Hands resting down by the floor or down by your side, and ever so carefully as the elbows come down, chin comes in, round spine, and the head, your head is the last part to come down. And when we lift, down through the elbows, lift the head, round the shoulders up to bring yourself up. And then just carrying on with that, a few more up and down, going up and down, just seeing how that feels in your body. So we're just strengthening, I suppose, core muscles, as well as coming into contact with what you can do, what feels right for you today. And if it feels okay, next time you come down, next time you roll yourself down, just draw your knees in towards you. So we're going to see if we can do that without the feet on the floor. It might be a bit easier for you, or it might not be. So hands still resting down by their side. We're going to go down into the elbows, lift a bit down into the hands, draw the chin in, lift the head. Now if you push the feet away to round the spine, up. Round, round spine, draw the chin in. Round, round spine, bring yourself back onto the floor. You can still use your hands. If you find yourself twisting over to the side a little bit or anything like that, then that's fine as well. So you're just finding a way that you can move and find these kind of movements. So down through the elbows, lift the head, push through the heels to round yourself up. And then carefully round yourself down. And as you round yourself down, you can bring the hands on the floor. As you draw the heels in towards you, the knees come in. That's what rounds the spine down. And then maybe get that idea that as you push the heels away from you, the head can lift, chin draws in, round, round spine down through the elbows to round yourself up. And then just carrying on, you can keep the hands on the floor, ease the knees in, and that rounds you down. Ease the heels away from you, lift the head, that takes you up. So just rounding up and down, just seeing how that feels for you. And if it feels quite easy, then you can work without the hands. So your hand or the arms, the hands can rest on the knees or wherever's comfortable for you. We're going to just do exactly the same but without pushing into the elbow. So this time we lift the chin, draw the chin down, lift the head, round, round shoulders, push the heels away to round yourself up. Rounded spine, draw the chin in, lift the heels, and that's what rounds you down. So it's the feeling of the heels coming in towards the spine that brings you up. The feeling of the heels going away from the spine rounds you up. So you round down, through the heels, from the heels, and you round up. And just see how that feels. And you can, if you like, you can speed it up. You can speed it up. Or you can just stay quite slow. So just carrying on. And you might be using your hands, or you might not be. Make sure you're breathing and feeling that connection, because you know you're going to start to feel those core muscles start to wake up. And then just come to rest down. So we just see where we are. So some of you, because you might be able to then start to round yourself. When you come rounding up to sit up, you might be able to stand. So we need a bit of a momentum to do that. But it's quite, you know, if you want to progress with it, it's quite interesting to know where you can go with it. So we can start again, the knees drawn in towards you. Or if you've had enough, you can just rest out or do something else. Use the arms if you need to. We're going to take through the heels to round the spine up, through the heels, and then we're going to see if we can just come onto the heels a little bit, and then we lift, we bring down and we round ourselves down, and we just see where we are with this. And the legs might go a little bit further overhead, till eventually maybe you can come to stand. And then you just round yourself down, and then just come and you start again. And just see how that feels in your body. But just kind of knowing that you're working with what feels right for you. So you progress it at your own kind of level, but these things always go a little bit more. And then when you're ready, just come back onto your back. Let your breath settle, your hands can rest on the centre of the spine, and you might get that whole sense of connection deep inside there now, as you just breathe. And let everything settle. And then when you're ready, bring your feet, so if they're not already, soles of feet come onto the floor. Just rest there for a few moments and drop your knees to the right. Lift the knees up, drop the knees to the left. So we're just going to kind of work in the same kind of way that we have before. So mobilising through the whole of the body, but first of all just dropping over through the knees. And as the knees drop to the right, maybe lift up the left shoulders, you come onto your right side. As the knees drop to the left, maybe lift up the right shoulders, you come onto your left side. So you start to roll through the whole of the body. So mobilising through the whole of the body. And then eventually maybe the hands might start to come onto the floor as well, so the palms, the hands. So when you roll over towards the left, the right palm of the hand comes down. You can use that, and can you sit up a little bit, and then you can roll yourself down, over to the other side, down through the left palm to lift yourself up. And then you can come down, roll over onto the left, down through the right palm to lift yourself up. So you just find those movements that allow your body to mobilise. And also it's really good allowing you to get up and down from the floor, especially as we get older. We don't want to lose that ability to easily get up and down from the floor. And then eventually, when you're ready, you just come to sit up. You just come to sit up. So, sitting forward, as we do this. So you're just with the legs in front, just sitting with the legs in front, and we're just going to lean back. We're going to lean back into the hands. So rock the heels from side to side. Your knees are quite soft, so you're just rocking the heels from side to side. Knowing as you rock the heels to the right, the left hip will come up. Rock the feet to the left, the right hip will come up. So just mobilising the whole body. So I quite like these little movements sometimes because they do make us feel connected. Then as you rock the knees to the right, the left arm can come over. So you start to do a little twist through the spine, and then to the left, the right arm will come over. So you're starting to twist a little bit round through the spine. And you can slow it down. I know sometimes I might go a little bit too fast, but just kind of slow things down. Noticing how that feels in your shoulders as well, how that feels through the whole of the body. And then come to centre. And then we're just going to, with the knees bent, just let them, the feet are quite wide, let your knees drop over towards the right, knees drop to the right, left hand's going to go in front of that right knee, and then just turn to look behind you. So either nice twist through the spine. Notice how that feels in your hip. Can you let that left hip just go? Let it go a little bit. Lift up that left knee if possible. So you find that length through the left thigh. So you have a sense of what's going on in your body. And then come back to centre. Knees drop to the left. Right arm goes in front of that left knee. And just turn to look behind you. And just notice, how does your neck feel? Can you move your neck? If you bring your hands a little bit closer in towards the hips, the spine might lift a little bit more. And then just come back to centre. So then just settling there, so come into Dandasana. So the legs are out in front, lift the knees up and down, and sort of circle the ankles a little bit, and then just let your hand just lightly rest on your thighs. Focus your gaze on your feet, and just for a few moments just settle. And then just know that your spine gravity will allow your spine to drop, will make your spine drop, because you know that's how kind of maybe our go-to movement, that gravity, everything around us makes us sink. So what we're going to try to do at first is get that sense of coming up away from the floor. So you can start off by leaning the hands behind, and again circling the ankles, and then if you push the right heel away and then draw the heel in. Just do that a few times with that heel. Just mobilising through the leg, right up through to the hip, and you might find something in your belly start to lift, because those muscles from the hip, from the heel, through the knee, through the leg, to the connect all the way out through the centre of the spine, so the iliopsoas muscle. So the feeling of contraction inside here draws the heel in, and then stop. Push the left heel away, draw the heel in. So just doing that a few times and feeling that connection into your hip. And you might even find that your shoulders are moving, that's all right, but try to leave the shoulders alone, and just kind of work that movement through the leg, from the heel to the knee, to the thigh, to the hip, and then stop. Rock from side to side, kind of let it go. So what we're trying to do is wake those muscles up. I'm not trying to do anything particularly with them, except wake them up. So it's kind of, let's just work into Navasana, so like a core muscle kind of thing. So if we lift, bend the knees, so you're leaning back. Now your spine is quite rounded, we're not worried about pushing our chest out or lifting our head or anything like that. Your chin can be dropped a little bit if you like, so it's rounded spine. And we're just going to carefully lift up the right leg, or right foot, lower, then we're going to lift up the left one, lower, and then just carry on. So it should be quite easy. It should be, you know, you might be thinking, oh, this is all right. So just kind of carrying on, just as you are, and then just see, next time, say, you lift up the left leg, can you take the right arm forward? And then lower, lift up the right leg, take the left arm forward. Now you're not stretching, you're just lifting. You're just lifting. Try to be as light in the hands that are resting behind you as possible. And then just see if you can take out the left leg, the right leg, and both arms. Just kind of see where you are. You're not pushing the legs away, you're not pushing the arms away. The wonderful is that everything can draw back towards the spine. Make sure you're breathing, and then lower the heels. Let the hands rest behind you, drop the knees to the right, lift the knees, drop the knees left. So we're just lengthening or kind of easing into the core muscles that have been working, abdominal muscles. Next time the knees drop to the right, left hand can go in front of that right knee and just turn to look behind you. So now you're lengthening or twisting through the abdominal muscles. So if you bring the hands a little bit closer in towards the hips, lift the spine a little bit more. Maybe turn the head, look past the right shoulder. Let the shoulders rest down. Come back to centre, let the knees drop to the left, right hand goes in front of the left knee and you just turn to look behind you. If the hands are quite close to the hips, the spine will lift a little bit high. But let that left shoulder drop. Maybe the left hand can come to rest behind you. Just kind of see where you are. And your spine is coming up away from the floor, and then perhaps you can turn round a little bit more towards the left. And then come back to centre when you're ready. Take the legs in front and just resting there for a few moments, just settling there. And let the hands come to rest on the knees. So if you can lift the knees underneath your hands, so you're not pushing, the knees aren't being pushed down, the heels aren't being pushed down, but you can feel that connection down through the knees, and there's space in the back of the knees. You can feel the connection in the heels, but there's also space somehow in the back of the ankle. And then if you allow your spine to sink, just as we kind of, you might have happened anyway, just allow the spine to sink. And now if you place your hands maybe on the centre of the spine, just imagine the heels can be drawn towards the hips. So we did that movement before, so now just imagine the heels can come in towards the hips. Imagine the feeling of the hips being able to come up towards the centre of the spine. So you might feel something start to lift. If you take your hands on the top of your head, you might feel something inside there. Underneath the ribs, right through to the top of the head, start to lift. And then just let your hands come to rest down by your side. If you close your eyes, take your attention to the right, outside of the right shoulder, outside of the right hip. And just if possible, just allow the right shoulder to sink towards the right hip. So that might bring the right elbow down. Make sure you're breathing and then come back up. You can soften the knees or bend the knees. If it's easier for you, just bend the knees. If there's any pressure on the lower back, just kind of bend the knees a little bit. Take your attention to the outside of the left shoulder, outside of the left hip. And without changing anything too much in the spine at all, can you just allow the left shoulder to come towards the left hip, as though the spine is, or your body's between two panes of glass. And then lift. And then the same on the other side. So the outside, the right shoulder sinks towards the right hip. Outside of the right hip, outside of the right shoulder. That might bring the right elbow down. Lightly touch, you come back up. Outside edge of the left shoulder, outside edge of the left hip. Come together, and the elbow might lightly touch the floor, and then you can come back up. And then just stop, and stop in the centre, and just notice the echoes of those movements in your body. And you breathe. So now let's go again. So you don't have to have the legs out straight. I'll turn so you get kind of different angle. The knees can be bent, or you can be kneeling, or you can kind of work with however feels good for you. To work into cross legs, if you start with the legs in front of you again, let's work into cross legs actually and go back into that side stretch. So if you lean your hands over towards the left, so you lift up that right hip, bend the right knee, so the right hip is lifted, and just rock that knee from side to side. So we're trying to free up that hip as much as possible. Free up the hip. And then I'm going to see, can we lift the foot, lift the foot. Can the right hand go on the right toes? And then just use the hand just to move the foot or the leg around a little bit. Can you take the leg up? Maybe circle a little bit. Just going to see where you are. Or just little circles. And then eventually bring that right heel down. Right, now imagine the right knee being drawn in towards the hip, down towards the hip, to bring the spine to centre, to let the knee Go out now. You're not pushing the knee down, working through the hip. If anything, we imagine the knee can draw in towards the hip. And then we do the same on the other side. So you can lengthen that leg away, lean the hands towards the right. So the left hip is lifted, there's space all around the hip, and then just ease the foot in. So you can rock the knee from side to side. So we're just trying to find space in the knee, or your knee and the hip. So we're trying to make space in the back of the knee as well, so not closing anything. And also make sure you can work the ankle, you can feel the ankle. And the foot that's in front of you, the right heel, that one there is resting into the floor, because that will connect you and give you a sense of being connected to the ground. And then maybe you can place the hands around the left toes. You can take the leg up. Just kind of see, because that will give you a bit of length through the back of the leg. But try, if you push the leg away, that's all right. But then can you work the idea that you can ease the heel in towards the hip? Ease the heel in towards the knee. Ease the knee down towards the hip. That's what allows the heel to come in a little bit. And you just go to where you go. You use the right foot down into the floor to ease the knee down, to ease the heel in towards the right hip. And then maybe there's that possibility of both heels coming in, but the knees come in towards the hips. So that's what allows that whole sense of the spine to come up. So, you know, if you're working with that and you get that sense you come up from the floor, that's fine. Or you just have the legs in front of you. Just kind of see where you are. So we're going to go back into those side stretches. So the right shoulder, outside edge of the right shoulder, outside edge of the right hip. And all we're looking to do is just ease the right shoulder down towards the right hip. And then come up. Then the outside edge of the left shoulder, outside edge of the left hip. And all we're looking to do is ease the left shoulder down. And then come up. And now we're going to place the left hand on the top of the head. The right shoulder eases down towards the right hip. So you feel that length down the left side of the body. Circle the left elbow, move the left elbow. Now if you push the left elbow up, you increase that stretch. So imagine someone's above you, drawing the elbow down towards the shoulder. Down towards the shoulder. And then come back up. So find that movement. So we're not pushing the elbow away or the arm away. We want to feel so it's coming back in. Then the left outside edge of the left shoulder sinks towards the outside edge of the left hip. The right hand can rest on the top of the head. And imagine the weight of the elbow resting down, down, down towards the shoulder. And maybe you can turn your head to look up towards the ceiling. And you might feel something inside underneath the ribs start to open, start to turn. And then come back up. Right, so you can change the legs if you want to have the legs in front, or if you're okay with the legs as they are. We're just going to do it one more time. The outside edge of the right shoulder comes down towards the outside edge of the right hip. The left hand can rest on the top of the head. Imagine the left elbow resting in towards the shoulder to allow that turn from deep inside underneath the ribs to open. Maybe your gaze comes up towards the ceiling. And then you come back up. Left shoulder sinks towards the left hip. The right hand can rest on the top of the head. The weight of the right elbow sinks down towards the shoulder. And if you turn your head inside underneath the ribs, you might find something inside there start to respond. Because ultimately we want the turn to come from the centre, but at first we just do what we can. And then come back up when you're ready. And just settle there, being aware of what's happened through the spine. So how do your shoulders feel right now? How does everything feel? Can you breathe? Because we're going to build on that. We're going to work into that. So if you take the legs in front of you and just rock from side to side. If you need to, if you like, in between these sequences, if your back feels a little bit achy and you want to come onto all fours, you can come into all fours and do just a few little cat stretches if you like. Just kind of see where you are with that. And if it feels okay, you can ease back into child's pose and all those kind of things. You can stop the video or the recording at any time and just ease into whatever different positions you want to do. And then if it's all right, we come back into seated. Right, so if we start with the legs in front, so let's just work the way that we were working before. So if you lean over towards the left and the right hip will lift, the right knee will come in, so it might feel a little bit easier for you to just rock the knee from side to side, and it might feel doable for you to let that knee to rock over to the side. Then you might feel your spine come to centre. Now you take your attention to that left heel. So if you lean back, if you push the left heel away, that stretches the spine forward and you're going to sink. We want to feel as though that heel can come in. You can use your hands. Can you lift the heel? Can we feel as though someone's in front of us, or pushing the heel in towards the hip, and take that heel out or the leg out to the side. Take the leg out to the side, and then let the spine, or let the sitting bones or the pelvis or hips, buttock muscles just rest down, and the groin rest down into the floor. Groin rest down into the floor. So you've got movement through this foot, the right foot. You've got movement through, or not movement, connection, sensation through that left heel. So you know exactly what's in contact with the floor. And you can lean back. Your leg might be kind of more, you might be in a totally different position to I am. It's fine. You just found what the shape doesn't matter. It's the feeling that we're trying to find, the feeling through the spine. And then we're going to come out. So let go, come to centre. So we're going to lean over towards the right. Lean over towards the right. The left heel will come in. Rock from side to side a little bit. And then just let the knee drop out. Left knee drops out. And it might not go all the way down. You don't push your knee. We're trying to find these movements from the heel through to the hip, through to the spine. And then as the knee drops away, the spine can lift. You can lift up one hip at a time, or sitting bone at a time. So we don't want to be sinking like a sack of potatoes down into the floor. Can we feel as though at any minute, there's always a possibility that we could lift. Sophie always used to say as though we were being hooked underneath our armpits, which I'm never sure if I like that analogy, but that whole sense of coming up away from the floor, and then we allow below the level of the waist to rest down, but always a sense of lightness above. And then is there a possibility, without doing too much, can we lift up the right leg and then just send it out to the side without stretching inside here? Always that possibility that that heel can come back in towards the hip to allow the spine to lift. So the heels rest down, but the spine can come up and then come out when you're ready. So we're going to go back to that. We'll just do something in between just to make sure that we're moving enough. So if we take our hands over towards the left, lift up the right knee just as we did before, so your hands are towards the left. Now down through that left heel, down through the left heel, down through the right foot, and can we just lift a little bit? And as you lift, can you make a little bit more space between the collarbones, upper part of the spine, and the right knee, and turn away from towards the left. Turn away from the right knee towards the left. Just making a little bit of space. And then see, is there a possibility of coming to centre? Left hand can rest on that right knee, down through the front heel, down through the front foot. And is there now a possibility of just turning towards the right? We're not trying to get our chest onto that right thigh. We're trying to make as much space between the collarbones and the thigh as possible. Relax the right shoulder. Maybe you can turn the head to look behind you. The feeling of the spine is coming up away from the floor, away from that front knee, and then come back. You should do the same on the other side. Maybe I'll change the way I'm sitting. So if you lean over towards the right, you lift up the left knee, lift up the left knee. So first of all, you're facing away from, but use the feet in the floor to make more space. We're not trying to get the upper part of the chest or the chest onto the thigh. We're always trying to make as much space inside here and around the hips, because that's what allows the spine to find movement. So down through that front heel, down through the left heel, and just allow yourself to turn a little bit round towards the right, away from that front thigh, away from, let the shoulders relax, feel as though the top of the head can come up towards the ceiling. If the hand that you're leaning on behind you is too heavy into the floor, lighten it off, lighten, relax the right shoulder. And then is there a possibility now of placing the right hand on that left knee, so come back to centre with the spine, know where you are in space. Left hand comes to rest behind you. As the fingertips behind you rest down into the floor, use that purchase down into the floor to ease the spine up, away from, down into the left heel and the whole of the foot, base the big toe, little toe, heel, down through the front heel. Make as much kind of movement, not movement or connection through the lower half of the spine to allow the lower half of the body, to allow the upper half of the body to lift and to turn towards that front leg, but not onto that front leg. We're trying to make as much space as possible. If you're leaning into the hand that's behind you, can it come to rest behind? Can you turn your head? Always feeling that, the feet, always feeling that connection down through the floor allows the spine to turn and then come back to centre. Well done. And then we'll go back to the one that we're working with before. So if we start with the legs in front, let's you can lean back actually. It doesn't really matter how you start too much. Lean back, you just have that sense you can move through the hips, you can feel the connection down through the heels. Then lift up the right heel. Bring the right knee in. Bring the right knee in, let the right knee drop out to the right. Can you take your hands forward? Can you take your hands forward? Can you bring them back? Can you lean back? Can you take your hands round to the right? Can you take your hands round to the left? So now bring your hands and your body and your spine to centre. So now that front foot is fine if you want to keep it there, or can you just take it a little bit out to the left, but not so far out to the left leg out to the left, not so far out that you're stretching. So all the muscles on the inner thigh, don't want to feel as though you're being pulled away from the spine. Can we feel as though we're being drawn back towards the centre of the spine? So in a sense, the outside body, in a way, can we make that, I don't want to say smaller, but connected back through. So we're not pushing ourselves, we're not widening ourselves away from the spine. We get that feeling in the end, but ultimately at the beginning, we don't want to overstretch. We're not stretching the ligaments and tendons or the muscles. We want to feel as though everything can come back in towards the centre of the spine, underneath the ribs, through inside here. And that's where maybe we can get that sense of lift and relax the shoulders. If you feel that you've sunk, it's all right, then you can lean back, walk around a little bit, then just see if you can bring the fingertips forward, rest the fingertips on the floor from inside underneath the ribs. Imagine you can lift, imagine space underneath the armpits, fingertips rest down into the floor, feet rest down into the floor, but from that connection down, is there enough purchase in order to lift up through the spine, up through the spine. Then just as we did before, we're just going to see outside edge of the left shoulder and the hip. Can that part there just start to come together? Just start to come together. Can you place the right hand on the top of the head? Just start to come together. Maybe now, without stretching, that left hand might go towards the left foot. You're not stretching. If you take that right elbow up, imagine the weight of the elbow resting down to the shoulder. From inside underneath the ribs, perhaps you can turn, and the gaze might come up towards the ceiling. And then you come back out. Settle, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So the left heel comes in, and the right leg goes out, but we're not overstretching. So the leg can be in front, or both legs can be in front if you like, and bent. So you kind of, what's going on through the lower half of the body is just allowed by what we feel in the centre of our spine. So if it's really uncomfortable, then you find a place for your legs to rest that allows you to find movement inside the spine. So no stretching. Down through that right heel, you can find that connection into the left foot, side of the left foot. So we know that we have that safety, that connection down into the floor, and that connection down into the floor allows the spine to lift. If you feel as though you've sunk, you can just spend time just trying to find space, or finding a feeling of movement. You don't have to do anything other than just trying to be able to sit, because to be able to sit upright on the floor is enough. So the right shoulder, if possible, the right shoulder can go down towards the right hip. So you can start to feel that movement forward through the top of the head towards that right foot. And the right hand might just touch that right foot. The left hand might just rest on top of on top of the head. So you can move the left shoulder, make sure you've got movement from deep inside underneath the ribs. Can we, if possible, just start to turn? And that's what takes the head up. Just start to turn, and that's what takes the head up. Make sure you're breathing, and then come up. Right, so we'll just do one more time each side. So you stay, you know, if you've had enough, obviously you can rest down, but if it's okay, let's just do the same on the other side. So the right heel comes in and the left leg is straight at first, or just a little bit bent, and then you just see if you can take that leg out. Try not to use your hands, but just with the strength of the hip, can the leg go out to the side? Can the leg go out to the side? Just kind of see where you are. So you use the outside edge of the foot, the heel, to allow the spine to lift, to kind of get that sense of movement through inside underneath the ribs, right through to the top of the head. Below the level of the waist we rest down, but above the level of the waist, can we find a sense of lightness, a feeling of lightness? Because it's a wonderful feeling to be able to come up feeling as though we're light. Gravity or just the weight of the world has everything pushing us down. We just want to feel as though just for a few moments we can counteract that. So the left, so to work into the turn, the left shoulder, at first it was just a little bit of a side stretch perhaps, left shoulder comes down. So you might feel something inside the spine start to turn away from that left knee. The upper part of the spine turns away from that left knee. The left heel kind of connects or gives you that sense of grounding to the floor as the upper part of the spine turns away from that left knee. Now the left hand might go towards the left toes, and then just see where that is. The right shoulder, the neck and the chin, everything there is as free, as open as possible. And then is there a possibility, as the spine turns, is there a possibility of taking the right arm over towards the left foot? Deep inside, underneath the ribs, through the spine, you open and you turn and you breathe and you come out when you're ready. And then you just see, is there a possibility? Can you do the same on the other side? So just working, so the left heel comes in, right leg is out. So the right leg might be a little bit further in or further out, but whatever it is, your gauge is how do you feel stretched on your inner thigh, because we don't want to stretch the inner thigh, because that will pull the pelvis, that will pull the spine, and we're trying to turn the spine, so there's no point starting off with it being pulled or tensed up. We're trying to release tension, not build tension. So we can start again. You can just kind of, you know, stay here, that's enough, with a whole sense of coming up from inside underneath the ribs, the spine, a sense of dignity really, which is a wonderful thing on an emotional level, to feel as though we can lift up. So we're opening, widening, without actually forcing anything, and have that sense of coming up. And then the right shoulder can come towards the right hip. You might feel inside underneath the ribs. Can you now start to turn? So the upper part of the chest or the spine is coming away from that right knee. The right heel allows that to happen. So from inside underneath the collarbones, there's that turn away from the right knee. As much space as possible around the chest and the thigh. The right arm might just come towards that right foot, or it might not. When it opens, we're not trying to reach. We're trying to turn the spine. The gaze might come up towards the ceiling. The chest, spine might start to turn and open. And is there a possibility now, without reaching, so as the left arm lifts, the weight of the arm comes in towards the shoulder. The shoulders are coming in towards the hips. The spine is lengthening, rotating, rounding, and maybe the left hand goes towards the right foot. And you just kind of see where you are. The right foot is coming in towards the hip. The spine is opening up towards the ceiling. And you breathe. And then you come out and up when you're ready. And just notice, feel those echoes in your body. Because all the benefits of these positions is really when you have that whole sense of sensation, that whole sense of being alive to whatever you feel right now. And then just, when you're ready, just coming to rest down. So, just like as we started. So, or as we started actually, we drew the knees in, didn't we? So let the hands come to rest on your knees. And just let the knees ease in. Draw your chin slightly down. And just being aware of the force of gravity around you that allows the knees to rest down. So you don't have to pull, you don't have to force or push or do anything like that. You can just allow the weight of the knees to rest down. And if possible, just rock the knees from side to side so you can ease in any kind of happening or anything going on in your lower back. Now just ease into. The seated positions are really good at strengthening our lower backs, but they can also, obviously, you might feel sensations of aching. So now just come to centre, bring the feet onto the floor. And aching just means that you've worked the muscles. Hands resting on the base of the ribs. And just underneath your hands, just feel your breath coming in. Oh, sorry, it's my dog going off a bit. And underneath your hands, just let the breath leave. And just being with your breath, just as you are right now. Just trying to ignore my dog. And then just let your knees drop to the right. Just letting go of that right hip, top hip, the left thigh. Just letting go of both hips, the one that's resting on the floor, the one that's above, the buttock muscles, shoulders that are wide. Then bring the knees back up and let your knees drop to the left. Let go of the top hip, let go of the top thigh. How do your shoulders feel right now? The back of the head, the heels, your breath, and bring your knees back up. And then just staying here for as long as feels right for you, with your breath and just with the sensations of your body. Just perhaps noticing sounds that are around us. Particularly when things, if there was a sound, like my dog was barking, if there was a sound that's quite distracting and gives us a story or a narrative, then when that sound is gone, just being aware of the silence or the other sounds that replace that. And then again, just bring your attention back to your breathing. And that knowledge and that understanding that you've given yourself permission just to be here, to be awake, and to breathe. And then bringing your attention back to the possibility of movement. Fingertips, toes, maybe your jaw, stretching the arms overhead. Or if you decided to stay here a little bit longer, then that's what you do. But otherwise, just maybe drawing the knees in towards you again and just rocking from side to side, just till eventually you come over to rest on your side. And just as we did before at the beginning of the class, just rolling yourself up. So it's a fluid, easy movement. It's almost as though your head is the last part of your body to find its place. And then just resting with an awareness of how it feels to be upright, to be sitting. And to be grateful just for the simplest of things, because ultimately that's all we are. A body, a breath, a feeling and a thought. So thank you for joining me.